Friends Becky and Hunter, together with Becky's husband Sam, are shown rock climbing at the beginning of the film. Dan is fumbling with a particularly difficult aperture when a bat leaps out of the fissure he was hanging onto, stunning him and causing him to lose his balance. Dan tries to swing back while still attached to his ropes but instead dies. Becky's life has turned into chaos 53 weeks later. She made an attempt to commit herself before Hunter arrived. Embraced by melancholy, resigned to alcohol, and estranged from her father because he didn't think Dan was suitable for her, Hunter attempts to comfort her and suggests that Becky accompany her in climbing a 2,000-foot TV tower situated in the desert. It would serve a dual purpose of spreading Dan's ashes once they reached the peak and providing Becky with a euphoric experience to help her deal with hunger loss and fear. Hunter, the adrenaline junkie, has now established himself as an Instagram influencer. The tower climb is the latest in a long line of crazy stunts she performs to gain fame and satisfy her thrill. As they drive towards the tower, they stop for dinner at a restaurant, where Hunter teaches her how to charge her phone by connecting her charger to the lamp's leads and using it as a power outlet. The next day, the girls drive up to the tower but are unable to pass through the gate. As a result, they begin walking toward the tower, where they encounter a half-dead coyote being picked on by a vulture pack. Hunter takes a picture of the dead coyote as they chase the vultures away. The girls quickly reach the base of the tower and begin climbing the internal ladder. Becky almost drops out due to nerves, but Hunter persuades her to continue. There are shots that show how shaky the tower's entire structure is, and how the screws connecting the ladders and holding them upright are perilously close to unscrewing themselves due to the pressure on the steps. The girls make it to the top of an internal ladder that leads to a platform. They must then climb another 200 feet to reach the top of the tower. Unknown to Becky and Hunter, one of the bolts come loose as they climb the ladder. The girls eventually make it to the top of the tower and spread Dan's ashes. A heartfelt moment for both Becky and Hunter. They also photograph them hanging in perilous positions using Hunter's 4K camera drone. They finally decide to start climbing back down, but as Becky begins to climb, the unscrewed section of the ladder comes loose, causing the entire ladder to topple and fall to the ground. It also causes Becky to toss their drone and water bottle into one of the satellite dishes attached below. Hunter uses a harness to lift Becky up. It presumably causes a large gash on her knee, which Hunter stops bleeding by forming a tourniquet around. In the compartment at the base of the tower, they also discovered a flare gun and binoculars. Becky and Hunter can find a signal at the top of the tower, rendering their smartphones effectively useless. After waiting for 5 hours and realizing that no one had heard the ladder crash and that no one was coming to help them, the two used their binoculars to look for help and came across a trailer park near the gate. They intended to lower the phone a few feet so that it could regain signal, at which point it would send an already pre-written message via Hunter's Instagram. They eventually decide to drop the phone by putting it in one of Hunter's shoes and reinforcing the shoe with Hunter's sports bra, the logic being that the phone will regain signal while falling and send the signal. The phone, however, breaks, and a dog belonging to one of the trailer park men sniffs the shoe and discovers the phone, but does not look up at the tower. Finally, the girls wait until it is dark before launching the flare from the flare gun and drawing their attention. Unfortunately, rather than driving the trailer to assist them in driving up to the gate, the men stole the car they had parked there. Becky and Hunter become hungry and dehydrated. Becky is watching a video of her and Dan's wedding when she notices Hunter's glum expression in the video. With the tattoo on Hunter's ankle, this compound forces Becky to confront Hunter by revealing that Dan had difficulty expressing his love for her, preferring to say those 3 numbers instead. Hunter admits to having an affair with Dan for 4 months, which Dan initiated following a drunken encounter. Hunter was forced to distance herself from Becky following Dan's death because she had ended the affair with Dan and valued her friendship with Becky far more. The next day, Hunter decides to climb down to the satellite dish and try to retrieve the bag containing the water and the drone, despite the fact that the phone is broken and no one is coming. She lowers herself to the top of the satellite dish with the harness and manages to jump to the other dish and retrieve the bag. Hunter reaches the harness with the selfie stick and manages to reach up. She appears to slip and fall to the dish as she climbs up, and Becky pulls her from the top. Becky, terrified, manages to peer down and sees that she is still alive, albeit with severely injured hands. Becky, on the other hand, manages to pull her up. Becky then uses a drone to deliver a piece of paper to the motel where they had stayed the night before, but the battery runs out, forcing them to retrieve the drone. Becky climbs up to the port where the tower's night light is attached, remembering Hunter's trick of charging the phone via the lamp leads. Her injured leg is already stinking, but she manages to climb the pole with difficulty, unscrew the light, and connect the drone's charger to the leads using her marriage ring as a conduit. Becky holds on for dear life throughout the night, barely avoiding the vultures smelling blood from her injured leg. Finally, after charging the drone, the girls attach the piece of paper to it and fly it over the gate toward the motel. But, as fate would have it, and in a nod to a previous scene in the first act, a truck crashes into the drone and destroys it, snuffing out her hopes of ever sending a message. Becky quickly loses consciousness due to delirium and dehydration, nearly falling from the platform. She eventually asks Hunter for her other shoe so she can drop her phone and request assistance. Hunter, on the other hand, responds calmly that she doesn't have the shoes because she isn't here in the first place. She died when Hunter slipped and fell into the dish, it is later revealed. Becky had only been able to lift the bag. The Hunter who had been assisting Becky throughout the previous events had been a figment of her imagination. It makes sense because the Hunter who had been by Becky's side after climbing back up to the platform had been more cautious, trying to provide moral support by talking about wrestling, a hobby that only Becky enjoys, or how Hunter persuaded Becky to climb up the tower to connect the drone's charger, in order for Becky to survive. The next day, one of the vultures flies down and rests on the platform. It begins to nibble at the flesh as it gets closer to Becky's leg. Becky manages to capture that vulture by the throat and bash it, killing it, while waiting for that moment. Becky manages to connect to the harness and pull herself down to the dish, where Hunter's dead body lies half mangled by the impact of the fall, after eating it to regain strength. Her stomach has already been ripped open by the vultures. The vulture that is nibbling on Hunter's flesh notices Becky's blood-stained face and flies away, realizing there is another Hunter. Becky, sobbing and whispering, types a message to her father, stuffs the phone inside Hunter's shoe, stuffs the shoe in Hunter's exposed stomach, and then pushes off the satellite. Becky's father, James, is seen driving toward the tower and arriving at the base to find police cars and paramedics already present. When she sees a dead body being carted away by paramedics, his heart sinks, but then he sees Becky, and the film ends with their tearful reunion. Hope you were enjoying the recap. Many thanks from the Recap Master team. If you enjoy, don't hesitate to give it a like, and to get a more interesting movie explainer continuously, please subscribe to our channel.